And welcome to a celebration of firsts presented by Loan Depot with Harold Reynolds. I'm Matt Vescursion here in Studio 21. Over the next hour, we're going to walk you through some of the game's most notable firsts. First-of-a-kind player, first-of-a-kind team, record-setting performances. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, and you think about the rich history of baseball. We're so ingrained with the American culture and how things change in our country, really on the same timeline with baseball. And that kind of starts where we're going to start off at.
Perfect setup as we begin our show with the ultimate groundbreaker. As a great player and a great groundbreaker, of course, Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier debuting in April of 1947. He would be ushered into the Hall of Fame.
He was before Rosa Parks. He was before Martin Luther King, before the Civil Rights Bill was signed in '64. Think about how far advanced Jackie was with the things he went through to break that barrier. And really, that's why we hold it up as such a significant thing in our sport.
There was a first African-American player in the American League as well. He, too, would end up in Cooperstown. Larry Doby won a World Series with the Cleveland Indians in 1948. They haven't won one since.
Yes.
He was a great groundbreaking talent.
Well, tremendous. And anytime you're following Jackie, he got most of the attention, but Larry went through the same things. All-around athlete, and people revered and loved this man. But he went through a lot of the similar stuff that Jackie went through. You didn't hear a whole lot about it. So, yes, Larry Doby, a groundbreaker, no doubt.
We take it in 1949 now, and the first Cuban-born player debuted in Major League Baseball. And as it would turn out, Harold, he would stick around for 5 decades.
That is incredible. I think getting hits in every one of those decades, man. But I remember meeting Minnie when he was done playing, hanging out at the ballpark with the White Sox, getting a chance to talk to him. Love baseball, but you think about all the Cuban players that came after him. You talk about opening the door. It's pretty impressive.
For Japanese-born players, we're in a golden era right now. But the very first, the Giants signed Masanori Murakami in 1964 to come stateside. He played with the Giants for 2 years.
But you think about the groundbreaking coming over from Japan, the relationship that baseball has had with the players that have come this way, to be the first guy to know now we have a $700 million player.
Yeah.
That would have never happened. This guy doesn't break that ground.
The first ever team, the first ever lineup that was comprised exclusively of black or Latin players, and that was the Pittsburgh Pirates of 1971. September 1st was the day. You're watching the lineup right here. Pop's in the Hall of Fame. Manny Sanguillen, another guy that played forever. Doc Ellis. This was a groundbreaking lineup.
And this team went on the field several times. It was a really impressive lineup. The Pirates were deep. It was fun. I remember I was a kid watching this. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Everybody set and they want Bobby to get that big number 3,000. Matlack on the 0-1. Bobby hits a drive into the gap in the left center field. There she is. Everybody standing. A double for Roberto.
History made at that moment, the first Latino to get into the 3,000 hit club and the first Latin-born player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame back in 1973.
Man of the Year really is named after this man for all things he did on and off the field.
In 1975, Major League Baseball saw its first African-American manager, and who better to take that mantle than the great Frank Robinson.
Frank was a tremendous player, MVP in both leagues, but here's the thing about him managing. He pinch hit himself and hit a home run. So he was a player manager first, and then obviously went on for a number of years to be a manager, but groundbreaking nonetheless.
He didn't have much to manage on the mound because he just said, Gaylord, go out there and pitch the whole 9. A moment ago, we talked about Masanori Murakami and how now, today, is really the golden age for Japanese-born players to succeed in the U.S. A Japanese-born player won his first MVP in Major League Baseball in 2001. Ichiro Suzuki's first year in the big leagues. Rookie of the Year, MVP in the same season, took the world by storm.
Well, we had a few Japanese players at that time, but he took it to a whole nother level. You talked about the Rookie of the Year, the MVP, but his ability to hit the ball different places.
2 MVP awards. The first Japanese-born player to do that, of course. We're in the middle of his greatness, Shohei Ohtani.
Well, I tell you what, we won't see anything like him ever again. We just won't. Throwing 100 miles an hour, hitting the ball 500 feet. I mean, he can do anything you want. It's almost like a cartoon character that was cut out. He is that fascinating. And we're just getting started. Like you said, we're in the middle of watching this greatness, and I'm glad that we're able to be here to see and witness this.
It's a story of let your hair down fun, blending with a stand-up and be-counted baseball devotion. A story of warm, vibrant, fun-loving baseball fans and their new team.
The first official league expansions came in back-to-back seasons in 1961 and 62, when a total of 4 new teams entered Major League Baseball. Washington Senators would become the Texas Rangers, Colt 45s would stay in Houston and become the Astros. 1965, the first official draft, first-year player draft, and the first player taken in the first-year draft, Rick Monday, who still has a profile in the game as a longtime radio voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers. We know the draft has come a long way, Harold, to the days that we celebrated today, but back in 1965, it was in its infancy.
Look at the names here. Joe Coleman went on for a long time, but Rick Monday was a slam dunk first pick.
There is one position that is relatively new to the game. That's the DH. Didn't come along until 1973, when Ron Blomberg was the very first. He had an 8-year career in Major League Baseball. He was the first ever designated hitter.
Well, baseball's always trying to bring in new rules to keep it exciting, right? At that time, offense was down. Came up with the idea, what if we gave another batter instead of letting the pitcher hit? That one singular move totally changed our sport.
In 1979, a guy that got paid a record-breaking sum was then Angel Nolan Ryan, when he became the first ever $1 million man. He signed a 4-year, $4.5 million deal with the Astros when he hit free agency, a Met, an Angel, and then was made a millionaire in the Space City.
You paid him that money because you knew the gate was going to be there, that people were going to walk up to watch him pitch. That's paying for your money.
Our game is truly international, but it didn't take, it took rather a long time to have a Major League Baseball played on international soil outside of North America. The first ever game played outside of North America, a real regular season game, not an exhibition. Opening day 2000, when the Cubs defeated the Mets at the Tokyo Dome.
And this was kind of, you know, it had been tested before. We sent all-star teams over there to play the Japanese all-stars, so you knew it was coming.
And in 2019, the first ever games played in Europe were the first ever games played in London, the London series. The Red Sox and Yankees went over there for 2 memorable days when nobody could pitch, and everybody raised their batting average about 30 points in a weekend. It was a wild series, 50 runs combined in 2 games in London.
Unbelievable. But you had 2 iconic names. If you're going to send anybody over there to play to groundbreak something, Yankees, Red Sox, not bad.
We'll start with the Babe, who was the first to get to 700 home runs. And the amazing part about this list is, through July 13th, 1934, when Babe got to 700, the next closest on the list had fewer than half. My, how the game has changed.
And those are great players. They weren't even close to this dude. Yeah, Babe was way ahead of his time, and set stuff so far out in the stratosphere, we really thought we'd never see 700 again.
I don't think anybody's ever going to hit in 56 straight.
I agree.
Joe DiMaggio did it in 1941, the longest hitting streak in the history of our sport.
And the amazing thing, after the streak was broken, he hit for the next 17 straight.
Man.
What a summer, right? And that was the year Ted Williams hit 406. But I'm with you, 56 will never be matched again.
We get excited about a guy hitting in 13 or 14 in a row, and Joe D did it in 56 straight games. You talk about accumulation numbers, career strikeouts. You can't get to big career strikeout totals without some eye-popping individual game performances. And on April 29th of 1986, Roger Clemens became the first pitcher to get to 20 punch-outs in a 9-inning game.
Roger punches out 20. I get a phone call to get called to the big leagues to play second base, and they move Tartable to the outfield. They're like, we got to have somebody make contact and catch the ball. That got me to the big leagues. Thank you, Roger.
You never talked in the 1970s or 60s or beyond about maybe someday he'll go 40-40. And then Jose Canseco zeroed in on it in his 1988 campaign and became the first ever with 40 homers and 40 bags.
It's so fitting how you stated that. I remember talking to Willie Mays at the Hall of Fame one year, and he said, you think Mickey and I couldn't have did 40-40? We'd have did 50-50 if we thought it meant something.
Jose was the first to get there.
There he goes. Pitch is inside. Tettleton throw, and he is in safely with number 1,000. Well, the fans recognizing the milestone that Rickey Henderson has just reached. He wants the base. Can't blame him for that. Of course, we'll have to charge him for it.
Fittingly, Rickey stole third for bag number 1,000. He would add 406 more. And Harold, here's a record, another one that I think's going to be safe forever.
They'll never get to Rickey. 1,000 stolen bases.
You got to pitch forever to get to as many as 600 saves.
Wow.
And the great Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman was the first to get there when he got there as a Brewer on September 7th of 2010.
Well, you think about the great pitchers we've seen through the history of baseball. Everybody has one pitch, and you can tell the hitter, it's coming. Trevor Hoffman's changeup was devastating. He could sit there and tell the hitter, I'm throwing you a changeup, and they still wouldn't hit it. It was that nasty.
Yeah. I don't know that we ever thought we would get to a $700 million player. We
$700 million?
This offseason. I mean, we were blown away by the numbers to the right, and then Ohtani blew everybody out of the water with $700 million by the Dodgers.
Well, with his ability to pitch and hit at the level he's performed at, but also, Matt, it speaks to really somewhat of the theme of the show, the international reach of baseball. He gets that money because he's so marketable all the way on the other side of the world. And this is a true international star. We use that word loosely, but he's an international star that cannot go anywhere.
And part of that price tag also comes, Harold, from another first. He is the first ever with at least 10 wins and a 30 or 40 home run season at the plate. And there is more to come, because he's got a lot of canvas to play in Southern California for the next decade. How about what the 2023 Atlanta Braves lineup accomplished? Records up and down, and when you put it all together, they did it all collectively.
Oh, it was incredible. It took me back to what I thought might have been the first you were going to talk about, the old American League Oakland A's lineups or the Cleveland, at the time, Indians lineups, but this lineup was as devastating as those.
They slugged a major league record 501. Ronald Acuna was a big reason why. So was Matt Olson. The first ever radio game. The only way people not at the ballpark could consume our sport was in Pittsburgh, Forbes Field, behind us here. KDKA was the broadcast outlet, and it was known as a booming voice throughout the Pittsburgh area. The gentleman's name was Harold Arlen. He was a foreman for Westinghouse Electric, used a converted telephone for a mic. And I would imagine the quality that he enjoyed that day is very similar to some of the stuff we do here at MLB Network in 2024. Lights in the ballpark. A completely foreign thing, yet before Major League Baseball did it, it had been done elsewhere. Yeah,
it was done in the Negro Leagues. The Kansas City Monarchs did it in 1930. They had portable lights, and so they would play all over the place and draw big crowds. Major League Baseball did it a step better in 1935 and cemented it into the stadiums.
First pitch was at 8:30. I mean, they wanted to make sure it was dark so they could show off their new toy, the lights at Crosley Field in 1935. Known as the shot heard round the world in 1951, Bobby Thompson's historic home run, which clinched the pennant for the New York Giants. It was a New York story, but the whole country got a chance to watch.
I'm trying to put myself back in that time. When you got a chance to see the ballpark, you'd heard it through radio, but you can't really imagine it. That's been crazy.
I mean, just that game, historic. When you consider it was the first televised national game, great night. Wrigley Field, for a lot of reasons, held out for lights, some of it political, some of it franchise history. But 53 years later, a first happened at Wrigley, lights at the confines. And by the way, the night that they lit the thing up, it rained and the game was canceled, so everybody got a chance to get used to the lights before there was actually baseball there.
Yeah, it's hard to even still go to Wrigley for me and not see a day game. It just became so synonymous with Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
Most umpires hate replays or in a dugout.
Right.
But, I mean, get the play right.
It looks like Cliff Floyd is going to have to return to second.
This is the right call.
Yeah, that was in 1999. Crew chief Frank Pulley actually used a TV replay that was not protocol at the time to get another look at a boundary call. And that was kind of the forerunner to official replays, which debuted in September of 2008. The first automatic intentional walk was benefited by Yadi Molina. when the Cubs decided we're just going to give him 4 wide ones, and this was the first time he didn't have to actually throw the pitch.
Yeah, it's still foreign to guys that played when I played to see somebody point you to first base. I like the fact he may throw one away, but it definitely sped up the game, and it did lead to all the new innovation that we have because players had to get used to it.
J.D. Davis to the San Francisco Giants, the first guy to get dinged on a pitch clock violation. It didn't take long. It was opening day of 2023, and there weren't nearly as many of these, Harold, as people thought there were going to be.
And Laz Diaz, the umpire, he was waiting. You want to make that call, right? You want to be the first one. I gotcha. You took too long.
JD's, good player, still playing, going to have a great career by the time it's said and done, but we're always going to know him as the first guy to get dinged on the pitch clock. Some of our baseball firsts are also baseball onlys. Johnny Vandermeer, the only pitcher to ever throw no-hitters in back-to-back starts, did it with the Reds in 1938. Here's just a partial list of some notables whose follow-up performance to a no-hitter came close, but nobody's done what Johnny Vandermeer accomplished.
Yeah, 2 no-hitters, back-to-back.
In the same week.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, guys go their whole career looking for 2 no-hitters.
You could never have guessed as to Joel Youngblood's accomplishment on that fateful day in 1982 when he got not only a hit for the Mets, but a hit for the Expos on the same day. The first ever player to get 2 hits on the same day in 2 different cities for 2 different teams.
He gets traded, flies over to the new place and says, put me in the lineup, coach.
The first team to turn 2 triple plays in a game and lose, the 1990 Minnesota Twins, who had 2 triple killings against the Red Sox in 1990 and lost the game 1-0.
I mean, incredible, right? They turned 2 that game, but they turned several. Because I remember, and they did that against our Mariners.
It felt like Gary Gaetti was always in the middle of a triple play.
Yes.
Hey, you think Tom Kelly was mad that they lost that game 1-0 after turning 2 triple plays?
They probably had to practice afterwards knowing that.
How about getting a chance to bat with the bases loaded twice in an inning and cashing in? Fernando Tatis hit a pair of grand slams in the same inning against the same dude twice, victimizing Chan-Ho Park in the first inning of a Cardinals-Dodgers game. This one ain't coming around again ever.
Makes you think, though, what was Chan-Ho Park doing in their steal to give up another granny?
Yeah. Al Leiter had the chance to face, pitch against, and beat every team. He had a long, great career, and it happened to intersect with league expansion at the perfect time. He became the first member of the I've Beaten All 30 Teams Club.
That's incredible. I did not know that until we were talking about doing this show here.
Only a handful have done it since, and again, you got to be in the league at the right time to even have a chance. First ever plate appearance, bases are loaded. What do you do with that first pitch? Here's what Kevin Kuzminoff of the then Indians did with his chance.
Wow, his first big league swing.
Kevin Kuzminoff has hit a grand slam home run on his first pitch in the major leagues. How about that?
There have been some players that have hit slams in their first at-bat. Kuzminoff did it on the very first pitch.
You live your whole life hoping for that one at-bat in the big leagues? That's pretty cool.
Matt Tuiasosopo's first home run of his career coming up, according to Mike Blowers.
On a 3-1 count.
On a 3-1 count. A breaking ball, fastball.
It'll be a
fastball.
fastball. He's a fastball pitcher. 3-1 count. Second at bat.
3 balls. I've never been so excited on a 3-1 count in my life. 3-1 pitch on the way. Swung on and belted into left field. It just missed the second deck. Fly away. I don't believe it.
So he was saying that this is a blast for him. This is something that you don't see every day, and he knows about this. He knows this is a great opportunity for him, and he just wanted to take advantage of it and enjoy every day of it. Right now in the offseason, we are working really hard to, be there in the opening day.
We expect Jackson Chourio of the Brewers to be a first-year phenom. Not exactly a hot take. A lot of people have him scheduled as such.
Last year, Major League Baseball had 19 players who were 20-20. 20 homers, 20 steals. I think we break that this year with the new records and the power coming of the young players and everything else. I think we have 20 guys that go 20-20 this year in the big league.
20 20-20s?
2020.
So put that in your Scotch Irish tongue.
2024.
Wow. All right. Well, hey, look, thanks for watching our celebration of firsts presented by Loan Depot. This was, by the way, the first clipboard that I was presented with here at the network.
You got the date, national pastime? Wow.
Yeah.
First, you said it was first one?
First clipboard right here. Thanks for watching, everybody.
See y'all.